So we're at the mid-season point of this Ultimate Conquest season. We're just past round 4, so in the middle. And I thought I'd go back over my predictions, talk about where I was right, where I was wrong, and how I think the matches have gone, the talking points of the season so far. So I think that the first round, there was no upsets there. It was about as everyone expected. I think most people got all the predictions there right. With Run versus RUI, it was about what we all thought. Obviously, Bezaming scored well, but it's so difficult to compete with Run. They set such high standards on every level in this game mode, and with an alliance like RUI or even CTP, who run it next, when they have like Bezaming or Napoleon tied up in buildings, it makes it so difficult to knock out all of Run's top accounts just because their roster is so deep. Like, sure, you can have Savo and Casterly, but then you'll have, Chaos, Doodoo on the ports or something. And you need so many top accounts to consistently win rallies to be able to knock them out. And no one can manage it, I don't think. All of Run's matches so far, CTP put up a bit of a fight. They did decently well here, but I don't think it was ever out of Run's control realistically. I think it's very telling where winning by 40k is about as close as you can really expect a Run match to go. And then with their last match, this was basically agreed to save speed ups, and neither alliance really did anything. So Run are just going to keep walking through to the end, I think. BDR just had such a expensive match with M3O. There's no way they're going to use speed ups to beat Run, I would imagine. I just don't think it's worth it for them. They'll probably drop down to the losers bracket here and try and beat whoever they get. Whoever they get with how they're playing, they probably could beat. They're playing so well. That match against M3O, that last match, was a crazy watch, probably the craziest watch of any UC match I've seen. Defending Casterly and the opposing port with the Burgle account and the Miller's account just over and over and over and over again was absolutely insane. That was so costly. Like I think the maths on this is Fulgore healed 35 million tier 4s. And then there's people close to that still, so I think all these people in this matchup have been drained of so many speed ups through this. So that will probably come into play for M3O and BDR's following matchups, I would imagine. It will be very surprising if it didn't, because sure, the top spenders can sustain that, but the mid-level reinforcers, they can't do that every match. That's just not sustainable. With RIP, CTP, I don't think this needs much analysis. Probably the easiest pick in the entire competition. The power difference there was just always going to be too big of a hurdle for RIP, and I think we could all see that. FDH versus ETA. I think FDH had every building at one point and then disbanded at 80k, so this one looked closer than it actually was. ETA kind of got the short straw here. It's just too many big accounts on FDH's side. I don't think they really ever had a chance in ETA. There's just too many whales there to go up against, which they just didn't have the firepower to compete with. With Mad versus HOH, I mean, the score was close, but they're friends, with Grom being good friends with a lot of people in Mad, having an account in Mad. So I think this was agreed, because they both knew if they both went all out, Mad would win convincingly probably, so they would just rather save speed ups. So a simple victory for Mad there. M3O Ash. M3O have been incredibly impressive throughout. Ash, like a lot of these first round matchups, probably never had a chance. Ash's main strength as an alliance is organization and having everyone 100% committed to using their own speed ups, whilst they don't have those high end accounts. But M3O are just on another level on both of those fronts, that they'll use their own speed ups forever and ever, and that they're reinforcing, especially I've noticed in this event, is maybe the best of anyone. They have so many committed players, like the amount of players they're bringing in. They got 99 members into that match. I'm not sure I've ever seen 99 members in a match. That is such a high standard to be set and matched. So I don't think Ash can have any shame in losing like that. OBV KSC are too big. OBV don't have the accounts to compete with them. Like maybe Death Note could win some rallies here and there with the counter Daigoro, but the list of the KSC accounts is just always going to be too much there, I think. At IKW MHL, this was, I think, maybe the only matchup which could have gone either way in this first round, or at least how it played out in the match itself. So the score there, IKW won by 14k, but it was actually a lot closer than the score suggests. So we hadn't seen IKW play at this point with the ARP accounts, and not as much focus was put on watching these matches. So just knowing how they were adapting to the swapping and rally timing meta was a bit of an unknown to me, at least. And I think IKW are probably the biggest underperformers throughout this whole event, because their coordination just hasn't been quite on the same levels as these other alliances in here. So looking back, an upset was a very real possibility here, I think. And this matchup has happened twice even, and IKW still took it both times. In this first matchup, there was a few things which went really wrong for MHL. They got Darius in on Warrior as the first capture, and then he had to disband it when Castle opened, which he did end up getting swapped into, which was huge for MHL. But they had two fails on the ports, so they tried to hard swap their own port, I think it was, but Imperial Rock came in and sniped it before the reinforcements got in. And they were taking the enemy port with solos on Devil Core, but somehow they got a soloable account in as the banner, so he just got soloed out again himself when the bubble dropped. If the timing on those two situations was a little bit different, MHL may well have won this first matchup actually, but IKW got the win in the end. It didn't play out that way, so there's no point really crediting it any other way. IKW still obviously had Nightmare to play against, even if they haven't been that impressive. If they manage to get the Imperial Rocks, the Orions, the Sungnams into buildings, they're just so hard to take out, but it's just getting them in, because a lot of these other alliances around them, like BDR, MAD, Run, KAC, their rushing is probably noticeably better, and the swapping definitely better. So IKW's ability to get their top accounts into buildings and timing rallies have just fallen behind a bit, and the only predictions I've gotten wrong so far are, well, I've gotten a few wrong, but it's because the brackets changed. So I had KSC beating M3O and IKW beating BDR, just because I thought the banner difference was a bit too significant of a hurdle. But with this current meta, where if you win rushes and manage to swap your top accounts into buildings, it doesn't actually matter that much. If you lose the races, it really matters. But like M3O, I think in this matchup they managed to swap Folgore onto Casterly and then held it all match. That is huge. Like, that's the only top account M3O has that can compete with, like the CPs and the Peace Towns of the world. So just that one moment totally changes the course of a game, because it's what, like a 600 points per minute swing, because it's 300 going M3O's way, and then obviously if M3O aren't holding it, KAC will be, so they're effectively losing those points per minute. So I think the current meta is very interesting in AC, because coordination and strategy is beating out on just raw power, which I guess is pretty healthy for the game. That's how you want it to be. So it's probably a little bit of maybe underestimating the meta playing into those strengths, and just overestimating the coordination of KSC and IKW a little bit, where I went wrong. And then I got these right, but they were in the wrong brackets because I got these wrong. So that's why it's so difficult, this whole prediction system. Getting 30 out of 30 is just surely impossible. I mean, there's probably someone out there who has it, but the fact that just one matchup totally changes a bracket the whole way through makes it so tough to get those highest rewards in there. So BDR at NW1 at the bottom here. I mean, this is so hard for NW1. BDR are so good at swapping Burgle, Jackie Love, and the Miller's account onto... where are they? There. Onto buildings. And that just suits the meta of AC so much right now. I think BDR's alliance makeup is just perfect for it. And for an alliance like NW1 without those top accounts at the high end of rally leaders, when they see the Miller's account or Burgle swapped into Castley and the Port, which it tends to be, or Jackie, they just have to leave it because they know they can't knock them out. And that's just such a big point swing right there. They can't even try it, or they're just going to suicide all their troops. I think that they tried in places in this matchup, but it's so hard to knock those accounts out. You need so many strong rally leaders to be able to pull it off. So BDR went through there. I'm going down the list here. Run CTP is as expected. Gone over it. RUI versus RIP as expected. HOH against ETA. HOH obviously saved speed ups in the first match and came in strong. I think this was the infamous Grom went in with Mountain Clan gear match. Still did decently well on elimination points there. Maybe it was all a troll and I don't know. I'm not sure, but HOH got the win there. They're a very coordinated alliance. With a few more top banners, if they can get some in, they could be a very impressive alliance in the future. They're looking very scary. Very, very deep roster. This roster in something like Siege of Winterfell will probably be very good. So I'll be interested to see how they perform there when that season comes around. Round 2 is where it got a bit more interesting. FDH Mad. I know a lot of eyes are on this. They're fairly closely matched in terms of account strength, probably. But I think Mad showed through with a bit more coordination. FDH tried to hard swap the enemy port. They didn't have a slow march coming in. And then Mad took it, I think probably Sleen on a Ghana. And then they sent reinforcements and then disbanded, sent the new rally leader and sped in the reinforcements and managed the hard swap. So FDH failed the hard swap whilst Mad won the hard swap. And that just makes such a difference. There's such a big point swing right there. And Mad are just so good at racing. I think in this matchup they got Death to All onto Castley without a swap. He just went straight in off the first capture. When you can get banners like that going in, not needing to swap them, that's massive, because there's no risk in losing it off the swap, obviously, like FDH had with that port. So in my predictions video, it was titled, I think, Mad and BDR to overperform. And I think we've seen that throughout. I think Mad will continue to do very well. They have CTP next. And I think this is the match I'm most excited for of any so far. Like we see here, CTP beat FDH by 19k. Whilst Mad won a little bit more convincingly, only slightly, but maybe that'll be telling of how it goes. This is also Mad's bad time slot, so I'm definitely keeping my eyes on that Mad CTP matchup. I picked Mad in it in my predictions, and I think I'm sticking to that, but CTP have noticeably improved their coordination throughout this. I think they've made a few tweaks to their strategy, like they're now consistently swapping Donabart onto the enemy outpost, and they've done that a few times now, and that seems to just be a lot of guaranteed points that they're mopping up from doing that if they can keep executing it. And their swapping has gotten very good, to be honest. Their coordination is definitely strong. It's just whether they can compete with Mads. I think rushing will probably be the main factor in deciding the victor in that. The Mad are very, very fast. I think I'd favour Mad's rushing speed, just going off what we've seen so far over CTPs. But on the day, I mean, it's just clicking at the end of the day, right? Anyone can win those rushes. When it actually comes down to it, just a few bugs, like you click speed up and you get the wolf head or something on your main rusher, that could change everything. Now the rest of the matchups in round 2. In this M3O KSC match, I think this surprised a lot of people. It was a very hype match. I remember people really going crazy when this happened. And that really is impressive from M3O. I did not expect that. They've really impressed me. I think that from what I've seen at least, they're the best reinforcers in the competition. They just have so many people that commit to sending marches and healing over and over and over and over again. Like this healing points is just so crazy. This is also at 1 AM, which I'm assuming was not ideal for M3O, which makes it even more impressive. You know, they dropped 10 participants between their previous match at their normal time slot. So I think in this they managed to get Fogel swapped onto Castle with a slow march, and then Epics held the KSC side's port, and M3O just repeatedly reinforced both of them when they were rallied, and managed to hold both through the whole match until they took the win. I mean, the reinforcing was the story here, I think. If M3O can sustain that reinforcing, they could well do it again in the losers bracket here, and then I think they could beat the winner of Mad or CTP. And then in a rematch with BDR, they could realistically win that as well, coming down from the losers bracket. So M3O in the final is a very real possibility, I think, which was not in my predictions. But I'm more than happy to be proved wrong. M3O are setting such a high standard for alliance organization, which I think is something to be admired for sure. And then what else there? Ash versus OBV. I know quite a few people thought OBV might surprisingly win this, which I could also have seen happening. I was open to the possibility of that, but Ash took it in the end, fairly convincingly in the end. Ash are such a good event alliance. They always show up, they always do so well. So props to them for getting the win there. MHL against NW1. Poor NW1, they got some really rough matchups there, didn't they? It's a similar story to BDR, like when they get Darius or Leo or someone like that on buildings, it's just so hard for someone like NW1 to take them out. Then round 3, CTP against RUI. CTP got a pretty convincing victory here. Wasn't really close at all. I think coordination was the main difference here. Obviously RUI have the probably better accounts on the top end, barring Napoleon, obviously. Elche there. But CTP just have so many committed reinforcers. Their rally timings are really good. Their swaps are becoming very good. So I don't think it's surprising that CTP took the win there. FTH against HOH. I mean, HOH put up a fight here. They actually started very well, but you know, the accounts FDH have, I think sadly HOH just can't really compete with across 60 minutes. Freeze, Odin, Morticio are probably impossible for them to take out buildings, and yeah, I mean, there's no shame in HOH losing there. I don't think it surprised anyone. It's just, it is what it is, the game, isn't it? When you have those top accounts, there's only so much you can really do. Same story here of KSE versus Ash. Ash didn't even show up. It was at 1 AM for them, and they have a lot of GMT +2, +3 players from Europe. And they knew they'd lost, so there's nothing to really even talk about here. Simple victory for KSE to go through there. Only so much you can do against those alliances, and Ash knew that. And then we had the IKW MHL rematch. Went a little bit smoother for IKW this time, and they took the win again. Pretty similar story to last time. And then round 4, you know, mad through this, and well, they came to an agreement to save speed ups. It would have been more convincing to run if they didn't, probably, but they just gave Mad the buildings at 80k. And this BDR M3O game is the most insane match we've seen so far, in my opinion. I guess that the KSE M3O match, M3O are having insane matches consistently, but this was a very different type of match, that KSE match, because in the KSE match they were the ones spam reinforcing and just holding those 2 locations, whereas here it was BDR doing it. And the amount of speed ups BDR must have used reinforcing the Miller's account on the enemy port, the amount of March speed ups they must have burnt through, I don't even want to know how many it was. It must be horrifying numbers, but it got them the win, and they'll probably remember that forever more in their time playing this game, so it will be worth it to them. And then they got the win, and now that BDR are in a very good position to, you know, drop down to this losers bracket. I think they can beat any of these 4 alliances and go to the final, and if things perfectly line up, maybe they could do the same to Run. I doubt it, because Run can send like 15-20 rallies at the Miller's account on the port and probably win all of them. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But props to M3O and BDR. That was such a fun match. Thank you for emptying all your accounts for our viewing pleasure. It is much appreciated. FDH against CTP. I think it's a similar story to the FDH Mad match. CTP are just a bit of a step above in terms of coordination. and probably in the depth of their roster as well. But FDH did well, that's decently close. That they did pretty well. But I think CTP were realistically always in control of this match. I don't think they were ever really at threat of losing. So CTP go through there, and now it gets really interesting in this 5th round. And KSC against IKW in the bottom here. KSC are just... These two alliances have very similar strengths, but KSC I think are maybe a little bit more coordinated and a little bit more powerful with their top banners. KSC's rushing as well is also just insane. The fact they can get the banners they get into buildings on first captures is terrifying, really. I think for anyone. I think even Run, when they see, you know, like the Clara Sama account or someone like that, Die Hard, get into a building on the first capture, it's probably pretty annoying, because those are nightmares to knock out. So KSC go through there, and now with this 5th round, I think my predictions may well change a little bit from what I originally went with. Mad CTP, I think I'm maybe more torn on than I originally was. I think Mad have had a few matchups where they've just saved speed ups, which may well help them. But that's also 2 matchups where they haven't had the reps in, whereas CTP have consistently had these tough matches they've had to execute in. So CTP might go in a bit hotter. I'll still edge Mad in it, just because I have so much faith in their coordination. They always impress me so much with their coordination. And I think their rushing will probably be a bit faster than CTP's. And then obviously at the bottom here, these are both the wrong alliances. It's now M3O KSC. I think M3O, it all depends if they can sustain the healing bills and the speed up bills after that BDR match. I mean, they beat KAC before, but the win condition on that was so costly and maybe hard to replicate. Because, like, if they didn't get Casterly and didn't manage to swap Fulgor in, they probably had no chance of winning this. And that's a very difficult win condition, because it's like your only route to winning. You don't have multiple routes to winning, which I think KSC does have, because KSC can knock anyone in M3O out of a building. That isn't the case for M3O to KSC, I think. Like, if KSC gets CP in a building, M3O probably just say, don't even bother, we'll just be suiciding our troops. Maybe I'm wrong there, but that's probably the case. So if M3O can get their best banners in and can spam reinforce over and over and over again, M3O could take it, but I'll probably still edge KAC, just because I think they have more routes to victory. But maybe I need to stop. Either, I'm not sure it's underestimating M3O, to be honest. I feel like it might be overestimating KAC. I just think KAC's banners are just so good and so difficult to deal with. But they do have the MHL invasion going on right now, which is zeroing a lot of their like mid-tier reinforcers, which will definitely have an effect. KSC are also the lower seeding, so they won't get time slot priority. Well, I think M3O probably might be my pick there, actually. Yeah, I think M3O might win that. Again. There's a few things going in their favour there. I mean, it all depends if they still have speed-ups left in their account, but I think I might give it to M3O. So that M3O mad in this 6th round. Okay, it's such a close match. I think it could be M3O again against them. I think M3O are really showing up in this event. So I think Mad will win this, M3O win this, and then M3O win again, and then we'll see the BDR M3O rematch to go to the finals. That's probably my revised bracket after seeing how things have played out. And I don't even want to predict that, because that is such a anyone can win it match, and I just want to watch it again. Even if these players have to sell their houses to fund the speed-ups again. That was such a fun watch, and if we get a rematch of that, that will be incredible. Sadly, I think whoever goes to the final will still lose the run, and there just won't really be a competition, but whoever gets there will probably try and go all out for the win. I'd assume. Like, if you get there, you might as well try, but you can't compete with this. I just don't think there's any feasible way this alliance can lose. Because the problem, if you can view it that way, is they have the coordination to go along with these accounts. Like, they're not uncoordinated at all. They have very good systems with swapping and rally timing. And when you have the power and the brains together, yeah, you're gonna take it, I think. I don't think there's any way around that. But we'll see how it plays out. On these next set of bets, I think you just bet on the handicaps, realistically. I think these matches will both be very close no matter what. So I've gone all in on Mad and KAC. Because I think they'll clear the handicaps. Like, if M3O win, it won't be a stomp. It will be close, 100%. The last match was within 10k, and yeah, there's no chance CTP win by over 57k. Mad are too good at the event, and they're too closely matched for that to happen, I think. But yeah, that's my mid-season review of UC. It's been fun. We've had some great matches, some really fun watches. I hope you guys have been enjoying it too. See you guys around.